Eagle Community Television presents Community Connection with your host, Mike Cooper.
Hello and welcome again to Community Connection from Eagle Community Television, our community connected. We're at the Robbins Center, the Fort Hays State University campus with Fort Hays State University President Dr. Ed Hammond as we talk about events and activities once again with President Hammond at Fort Hays State University. First of all, though, we've got to mention our producer, Jeff Durall, and whom we like to thank every time for making this possible for us.
Well, he makes us look good, too.
Well, he does that,
that's right.
yeah. Okay. This setup that he's got us at here with the outlook from the Robbins Center here as we're facing north there. Beautiful setup.
He was trained well.
Apparently so, yes. Let's talk about the Dodge City Fort Hays State University connection with Dodge City Community College. Tell us about that.
Well, in 1993, St. Mary's of the Plains was closed because of violation of federal law and state law and lots of problems. And at that time, the governor called and said, would you be willing to be the custodian for this closed institution? And so Fort Hays became the legal custodian, and moving van after moving van of records and material was brought up here. And then for about 3 or 4 years, we had almost 24/7. Every week we had teams of FBI accountants here going through the records and identifying all of the violations, because they were fudging the books and awarding financial aid to students that didn't exist and a lot of things like that. So we still today are the legal depository. So any graduate of St. Mary's of the Plains that wants a transcript or anything like that has to come to Fort Hays and we issue them. Also at that time, the discussion began about, well, why doesn't Fort Hays open a center? We'll give you the building that was St. Mary's of the Plains. And we looked at that option at the time, and the state architects and engineers went and looked, and the cost of that big, gigantic building was not worth it to accept it as a gift. We would have had to spend millions and millions and millions of dollars on it. So we then proceeded to move more into the virtual delivery of courses into Southwest Kansas. And it is today the only quarter of the state that has no 4-year accredited institution serving it in terms of physical, face-to-face kind of education at the baccalaureate level. So about 2 years ago or 3 years ago, that discussion heated up again. It's been going on all along. You know, we would like to have a center. And the governor and other people have basically come to the conclusion that Kansas can't afford a 7th Regents University. And so if there was going to be a 4-year program in Dodge City, that program was going to have to be a expansion or a campus of one of the existing schools, and their recommendation was Fort Hays State. So for over 2 years now, there's been active discussions between the elected board members of the Dodge City Community College and Fort Hays, leaders, business leaders, political leaders. We even went down to Oklahoma to look at a model of a campus that Oklahoma State University has down there. And so all of this kind of has developed what we call a white paper that is a concept paper that says these are basic principles for a presence in Southwest Kansas, which the white paper refers to as FHSU at Dodge City. And their board unanimously approved that, moving ahead with that white paper. Now, last Friday, there was a meeting in Dodge City, and in that meeting we had a discussion about what the resolution meant, what they are wanting to do. There's a lot of paranoia among the faculty and the staff. They want to know, oh my goodness, what's going to happen? I don't have a doctorate and I've been teaching here for 20 years. Am I still going to have a job? Those are the kind of things that came up at the meeting on last Friday. And I assured them that there is no desire of mine or Fort Hays State University to see anyone lose their job It isn't our desire to, change the benefit packages intentionally one way or the other to hurt somebody. What we want to do is we want to develop a map that takes this white paper and these basic principles and fills in the blanks and gets it into legislation for the legislature in 2015, next year's legislative session. So, but the bottom line is what's been agreed to is it will be a campus of Fort Hays, much like K-State Salina would be a campus of Fort Hays. The campus proper, the property, the buildings, would continue to be owned by the citizens of Ford County. The taxing district that the citizens have put lots of money into over the years, built the buildings, they continue to own the buildings, they continue to maintain the buildings. We don't want that maintenance issue, that's their issue. But we would then be responsible for all of the program, all the employees would be Fort Hays State University employees, and we would develop 3 academic units on the Dodge City campus. One would be a lower divisional college, which would basically take care of all of the services, certificate, and associate degree kinds of programs that currently exist at the community college. So all of the programs and services that Dodge City Community College would continue to be provided by Fort Hays State at Dodge City. The second college would be an upper divisional college, and this is where we would offer baccalaureate degrees that would be stackable on top of the associate degrees that the lower division college has. And then in addition to that, there would be a technical institute. And the technical institute would be an institute that would be a public-private partnership with 10 different companies. And we would sit down with those companies and we would develop an academic degree plan that produces the labor that they need to be successful in their business. At the end of the first year of enrollment in the plan, the student could leave with a certificate. Let's say it's John Deere. They would then go out, they could be a mechanic in a John Deere dealership, or they could go to corporate and work in the plants that make the tractors and the other equipment. If they stay through the associate degree, they could be a parts manager in a dealership, or they may be able to get a supervisory job in one of the John Deere plants. If they stayed through all 4 years and got the bachelor's degree, they then could work for corporate, or they could be involved in the management of a dealership. So what we would do with each company is sit down and develop this roadmap of curriculum that at each exit point, 1 year, 2 years, and 4 years, the students could flow out into a whole series of jobs that are already defined within the John Deere family. We would do that with 10 different companies. Each company would have 100 slots each year in that program. And so John Deere would work with us and would work with their network of companies and also their dealerships, and would identify, and we would work with them on admissions. They would participate in the admissions process. So we would select these 100 highly qualified people that would go into this John Deere program, or into the General Motors program, or the Toyota program, or whatever it happened to be, Siemens, or whatever company we want it to be. And then they would know, this company would know that they would have this constant flow of highly qualified, pre-trained employees that would be flowing into their business. So a totally different kind of model of education. Instead of going to business and industry and saying, we have this degree program that's producing these students and we would like for you to hire our students, we're sitting down with them up front saying, let's design a curriculum and a degree that maximizes what you need. And we already know that there are soft skills as well as hard skills that they're interested in. So all the John Deere students would maybe be wearing green shirts and khaki pants. They would go to class at 8 o'clock in the morning through 5 o'clock in the afternoon, so that they learn work ethic and they learn the regular. So these companies are interested in teaching and rewarding and identifying people who have work ethic and punctuality as well as the skill set that they need. It's been real interesting, some of the preliminary discussions with the companies. And it's going to be exciting to build these 10 different curriculum tracks that would lead to both a certificate, an associate degree, and a bachelor's degree from Fort Hays State at Dodge City.
I can see you're already excited about the possibilities of
Well, I think it's a win-win-win. I think it's a win for Kansas. It's a win for Southwest Kansas and Dodge City, and it's a win for Fort Hays State.
Let's switch topics to the Power of One. Recent donation from Insurance Planning of $30,000 pledged to the Power of One Scholarship Campaign.
A very, very generous gift from one of our major employers here in town, and they've given over the years, maybe not as publicly as this announcement, but they've always given money to Fort Hays, and the partners there have always been very, very supportive of Fort Hays State University. So this is just another of a line of ways in which they support the city of Hays and Fort Hays State University.
Where are we about on the fundraising now?
Well,
$8 million goal.
Well, just Monday, which I guess this could run on Monday. So today, we are basically wrapping up our first quarter of this $8 million campaign because we're 3 months into it. And we have about $3.4 million already raised. So we are about 40% of our goal after 1/4 of the time. And there's been lots of very generous people like Insurance Planning and other folks that have stepped up and made major gifts to and commitments to the campaign. So I'm very, very pleased and fully believe that as I step down as president, we will be able to raise $8 million for scholarships. We've never raised more than $2 million a year, so this is a significant increase, but it will lay a strong foundation for the future of Fort Hays State University moving forward.
And the campaign runs through the end of this year.
End of the, yep, it's a calendar year 14 project. We announced it midway through December, but we made a commitment we would raise the money from now through the end of 14.
Couple of minutes left. One thing that struck me when you were visiting with the morning show and Mike and Boomer about when you started at Fort Hays State University, the legislature was allocating something like 48% of the higher education budget. Now it's down to less than 1/3.
Yeah, when I got here, it was about between 48 and 49% of the budget was state general fund support or tax dollar support. And today it's about, our budget's $120 million, and we get about $32 million. Yeah, so it's somewhere around 30% or so of the budget. So we've lost not quite 20% of our state support of higher education at Fort Hays, and that's true at all the Regents universities. And of course, if the state cuts back their funding by 20% over a period of time, over that same period of time, you've seen tremendous tuition increases at the other institutions. We've been fortunate to find ways not to have to increase the tuition, but there is a direct correlation between the state not funding higher education and what students have to pay or what their parents have to pay. And that's a shame because in Kansas, we've always operated as a citizenry that believed that education was important, that believed that every Kansan had a right to get a good education. And now we are, in effect, changing those parameters. And the parents are going to have to either borrow the money or the kids borrow the money. And that really worries me. If you take the next 10 years of graduates and load them up with that much debt, when they graduate, they can't buy cars, they can't buy houses. What you're really doing is negatively impacting the future economy of the state of Kansas. And it's not in our state's best interest to do that. So I'm very hopeful that in this legislative session that they will take steps to provide additional resources to the institutions to get us back to where we were even last year. I mean, that was the governor's recommendation, was for the legislature to kind of rescind the cuts that were made last year And in doing that, trying to stimulate some new programs and new activity that would help grow the state of Kansas.
And you can translate that directly to K through 12 education as well.
Well, we don't know what K through 12 education. I mean, we got the Supreme Court decision now since the last time we talked, and the general consensus is that, you know, the state's about $130 million off of where they need to be in funding K through 12 in an equitable manner. But, you know, the thing that bothers me is everyone's talking about money, and no one's talking about the kids, about the students. And that's what it's all about. I mean, you could give us $500 million, but if that didn't increase the education and the success of our students, then we're wasting that money. So by investing another $130 million in K through 12, you know, yeah, it may get the court off our backs, but we still need to hold our schools and our teachers and our legislator responsible for providing a quality education. And what we need to do is define really what that is. You know, at the higher education level, I tell the legislature all the time, because they get hung up on graduation rates and graduation, and I tell them, I said, it's really not that important.
It's not that key point.
It isn't the key point. It's, you know, we can graduate a bunch of nurses, but if they can't pass the nursing exam and be licensed nurses in Kansas, your graduation rates don't mean anything. Same thing in teachers. You know, we graduated 266 elementary ed teachers last year, and 260 passed the licensure exam the first time. That's 98%. Now that's quality and that's success. So people get kind of hung up on some of the wrong things. They get hung up on money. They get hung up on, did you get your degree? But we need to be asking, do they have the skills and the abilities to be licensed, to do the jobs that we need done in the state of Kansas if we're going to be successful?
From the Robin Center at Fort Hays State University, President Ed Hammond, and our Community Connection. Thanks for watching.